Actually, I noticed a number of people that are here. Well, I was working.
Is that natural?
Catch these because they're really good.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, I refused to go to the Air Force Academy in November for the reunion.
Oh, really?
Jack is too cold.
It's too wild.
Last year, did you go?
Oh,
did you go?
Too. We used other excuses for basic. Okay.
Yeah.
But Jan, okay, Jan, how old were you seriously that first day that you arrived at the academy? Remember?
No, I don't remember much. But I was 18.
Okay, you were 18.
Everybody else?
Turned 18. And where you were from?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Which
Are you
part
a
of
TV star?
Yes, I am.
And you get to interview people?
Yes, and I'm making $15 million a year like
Are
Katie
you?
Couric. But seriously, where were you from in Massachusetts? Because my dad was from Massachusetts.
Where was he from?
From Lynn.
I was on the north side of Boston. I was from the south side of Boston.
Okay. You went
Hingham.
to the Marine Maritime Academy. But anyway.
Mass or Maine?
Massachusetts Maritime Academy. Okay, but aside from that, let's hear more about your first day. What was it like? Was it terrifying?
It was terrifying. What I want to have memorialized, though, is one of my classmates who made a special effort to arrive early in the morning of the first day so that he could get his choice of rooms. And if you remember that first day, you didn't get to choose when you could breathe. So there he was, very sadly mistaken.
Yes. Is it true that everything was fine up until you walked through those gates and then life as you knew it changed? I mean, the minute you
Sure
walked
did.
through the gates. What gates are they talking about?
I don't know.
But where
Gates
did
of
all
hell.
the initial
But it
hazing take place?
changed.
Out on some big
You went
palazzo or
in. No, we went in, and there was this room, and they took blood, and they gave you a cookie. The lady said, "Here, have a cookie and lemonade." Okay, and then they said, when you walk through the doors, you can't come back in. Okay, I'm ready.
That's
And we walked through the doors,
And the shouting began?
and it hit the fan. That was it.
You're looking terrific.
And you stand there at attention, and they come around every once in a while to tell you to do push-ups because they don't know what else to do. And people were coming in after me and leaving before me and going somewhere. So I just followed a group that was going somewhere, and they were going to get clothes. There I was, my first shopping trip at the academy.
Wow.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
And that's
Thank you,
probably
Jack.
all I have to say about it.
Everything is running.
I was
Bob Hoffman.
I was from Red Bank, New Jersey, one of Kathy Siner's favorite spots. I think we got a northern Jersey shores. Kathy goes there, I think, for most of her vacations now.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to be serious. But I will tell some.
You are way too old to be serious. I know that.
So I was in New Jersey, and I was headed for the Air Force Academy. I was 18. This was the first airplane ride I ever took. I remember that.
To the Air Force Academy.
To the Air Force Academy. I figured, well, this is the right way to start.
How did you get your appointment?
I got it 2 ways, but actually what turned out to be is they gave me a presidential because my dad was in the Army, but I had been nominated by my congressman and by my senator, but when I got the actual notification, it was that I got a presidential.
Jackie, have you tried out for any of the other service academies?
I had, and I was accepted to West Point as well, and my dad was a West Point graduate. And,
Was he upset that you went to
No,
Air Force?
not at all. I said I wanted to fly. I said I wanted to go to graduate school, and Vietnam was looming. And he said, you know, if you're going to have to go to Vietnam, it's much better to be in the Air Force than the Army. Plus, he'd been an Army Air Corps guy, and he had a little love, I think, still left for that approach. So he was encouraging, and that's what I did. I remember it was a propeller airplane, something like a C-118, which Air Force people know, and it stopped a lot of places. It wasn't like today, you'd fly non-stop to Denver and then maybe get an airplane from there. It stopped in Chicago, and Kansas City, and St. Louis, and I remember looking out the window. It was like a bus. And people got on and off. It just kind of taxied up to little airports, and people went down the, you know, it was all outdoors. It wasn't anything like today. And people got on. And I'd look out the window and I'd see kids getting on. And I knew they were going to the airport.
Really?
Oh.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, darn.
So where did you spend your first night?
My dad had recommended that if you were going to, and of course he was a West Point graduate, so he had prepared me for all of his life. He talked to me about what plebe summer was like, and I'd had a couple of cousins who went to West Point, so I knew what to expect. And he said, if you're going to go have this experience of Dooley summer, go spend your last night in the best place you can. So I stayed in the Broadmoor. He booked it for me. I can't remember the connection between Denver and Colorado Springs, but took a taxi to the Broadmoor.
Was Jack Hewitt there with you?
You know, there were other kids who were going, I was sure, but I did not go up and introduce myself. I remember I had a very nice dinner, because I figured that was the last one I was going to have for about 3 months.
Were you nervous?
No.
Really?
I wasn't. No, I wasn't. You know, maybe a little apprehensive, but I'd been, when I was a little kid, I had a T-shirt that said West Point 1965 on it, like when I was in first grade. So this was a destiny for me. It just happened they invented the Air Force Academy on West Point. So I knew this was going to happen, and I knew what was expected. My father had told me stories, my cousins had told me stories. I knew they weren't going to be nice to me. And they weren't.
Did you do any
They lived up to that?
bodybuilding?
No, nothing. I ran a little bit, but nothing compared to what kids do today, or what one could have done. But the other difference was the altitude. That really did make a difference. It made a big difference for Richie, I remember, and others who just were in good shape, but when you went from sea level to 7,000 feet, you really couldn't breathe very well, and you thought you were in bad shape.
You and Rich and Doug coming from Brooklyn, Staten Island, it was...
There was about no way you could train for that. And at the last part, I found it more difficult to remember 4 numbers, 3, 1, 6, 3, than any 4 numbers in my life. Because all you had to say was, that was my cadet serial number. And all you had to do to be trained to get across the terrazzo without doing lots of push-ups was Sir Basic Cadet Hoffa 3163K, First Squadron, I think it was A Squadron, reporting for duty. Boy, did I have a tough time with 3163. 36, what? Give me 10. 3 key.
You couldn't lie, I didn't know.
It just was hard to, you were under a lot of pressure, and you had to get this reporting thing exactly right. And I had a good friend who went to West Point, and he said, the first time I did it, I got it exactly right, and let me go through. It took me about 10 times.
Oh my goodness.
But I've never forgotten 3163. If you want to get into any password on my computer,
Wow.
3163 works.
For Cheese's 1965. It was obviously a memorable year.
That's what he owns.
That would be easy to remember.
Jim Coleman has it in his
Thank you very much. I'm done. Thank
email
you.
address. 65. 65.
I think one of the things that got me about Richie's going there, I mean, I know this was a huge thing for him too.
This is Kathy Steiner. Okay.
Wife of Rich, 65, who they somehow beat out his New York accent, because he came with a strong, I think, New York accent. All of his family has one.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, how did you, lose this? And he said, because they said, you're not going to have that, because it kind of amazes me. He's so different from the rest of his family. But that was, I think he took a train out from New York.
But I never really, because I was an Army brat. But as soon as I met Richie, and he was famous for being from Brooklyn, but I knew what Brooklyn accent sounded like.
He took a train out, I know that. And I think he stayed at the Antlers with so many of the others that first night. But I'm not sure he thought he was gonna survive it either.
None of them did.
But it was, what a great experience. And I'm not sure he loved every minute of it.
No, we would not have described
so.
it as a great experience.
But now, what greater group is there than this group, and the camaraderie that you feel with everybody here is phenomenal.
Good place to be from.